The moment. Silence. Winds imagine this. It's a Monday morning. The office is buzzing with the usual chaos, phones ringing, keyboards tapping, coffee machines hissing. You walk into the meeting room, ready to present your ideas. You've spent days preparing for this. Your heart is racing a little, but you're confident. And then, it happens. Someone across the table, maybe a colleague who's never really liked you, decides this is the perfect moment to embarrass you. They cut you off mid-sentence. They smirk, roll their eyes, and say something sarcastic, loud enough for everyone to hear. It's a jab, a public shot meant to make you stumble. Your first instinct? Fight back. Prove them wrong. Show everyone you're not someone to mess with. Your chest tightens, your jaw locks, and 100 comebacks start forming in your head. But then, you don't speak. You take a slow breath. You look at them steady without a word. You keep your body relaxed. The room feels heavy for a moment. All eyes bouncing between you and them, waiting for the explosion. It doesn't come. Instead, you calmly turn back to your presentation. Your voice is steady. You finish your point. You move on. And something strange happens. The energy shifts. The smirk on their face fades. The people in the room start listening to you again. Not them. The power they thought they had over you? Gone. In that moment, without a single word, you won. That's the thing about silence. It feels like doing nothing, but sometimes it's the most powerful move you can make. We live in a world that constantly tells us to react fast. Social media trains us to reply instantly. Arguments erupt in seconds. If someone insults you, you're expected to fire back. If someone challenges you, you're supposed to prove yourself immediately. It feels like silence means weakness, like you're letting them win. But here's the truth. Silence is not weakness. It's strategy. It's control. It's the ability to protect your energy while making the other person lose theirs. Think about it. When someone tries to provoke you, what do they want? They want your reaction. They want you to get emotional, to lose control, to give them power over your mood. The moment you react, they win. But when you don't, when you stay calm, they're left with nothing to feed on. They either deflate or they reveal their own weakness. It's like watching someone punch the air. They waste all that energy, but they don't land a hit. Here's the part most people miss. Not reacting doesn't mean ignoring everything or letting people walk all over you. It means choosing your battles. It means deciding, this isn't worth my peace. It means knowing that your calmness can be more intimidating than your anger. I'll tell you another story. A friend of mine once worked under a very difficult boss. The kind who loved to find faults just to feel in control. One day, the boss started yelling at him in front of the whole team over a mistake that wasn't even his. Everyone expected him to defend himself, but he didn't. He stood there listening quietly. He waited until the boss was done, then said, "I understand," and walked away. The next day, that same boss called him into the office privately and apologized. Why? Because my friend didn't give him the drama he was looking for. His silence forced the boss to reflect on his own behavior. That's the power of not reacting. And here's why this matters to you. Because in life, you will face situations where people will test you. They will say things to make you doubt yourself. They will try to drag you into their storm. You can choose to enter it. Or you can stay still and make them face their own noise. By the end of this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. How to stay calm under pressure, how to train yourself to pause before reacting, and how to turn silence into your greatest strength. Because once you learn the power of not reacting, you won't just protect your peace. You'll gain respect, influence, and control over your life in ways you've never experienced before. And the best part? You don't need special skills. You don't need years of training. You can start today, right now. So, stay with me. What you're about to learn could completely change the way you deal with people, problems, and even your own emotions. Let's begin. Why reacting feels natural but costs you. Let's be honest. It's B. Reacting feels good. When someone cuts you off in traffic and you honk like your life depends on it, there's a rush of satisfaction. When a family member says something unfair and you snap back, you feel like you've defended yourself. When someone posts something nasty about you online and you clap back with a perfectly sharp reply, it feels like you've scored a win. That's because reacting is wired into us. It's part of our survival system. Thousands of years ago, when humans were living in caves, reacting fast could save your life. If you saw danger, you didn't sit there thinking about it. You fought or you ran. Your body released adrenaline. Your heart raced. Your mind went into high alert. The problem is, in today's world, most of our dangers aren't life or death. They're insults, misunderstandings, or disagreements. But our brain reacts the same way it did back then. Someone criticizes you in a meeting, boom, adrenaline. Someone ignores your message, boom, heart rate goes up. Someone disagrees with you on social media, boom, your brain says, attack mode. And here's the tricky part. Your ego joins the party. The ego whispers, don't let them disrespect you. Don't let them think they're right. Show them you're smarter, louder, stronger. It convinces you that if you don't react, you're losing. But that's the trap, because reacting in the heat of the moment usually feels like control. But it's actually the opposite. You're letting the other person dictate your emotions. You're dancing to their tune. And while it might feel satisfying for a few seconds, the costs can be much bigger than you realize. Let's break down those hidden costs. Lost respect. People might not remember every word you said, but they'll remember how you acted. If you lose your cool too often, even the people who agree with you will start seeing you as unpredictable, emotional, maybe even unstable. Calmness earns respect. Overreaction chips away at it. Drained energy. Every time you react, you're spending emotional energy. Think about it. How many times have you had an argument, and hours later you're still replaying it in your head? You can't focus, you can't relax, because your mind is stuck in that moment. That's energy you could have spent on your goals, your happiness, or simply enjoying your day. Damaged relationships. One heated reaction can undo years of trust. Words said in anger can't be unsaid. A defensive tone can close someone off completely. Sometimes the person you win against today becomes the person you can't work with tomorrow. Here's the thing. Most people don't think about these costs in the moment. They're too busy feeling the rush of winning the argument. But later, when the adrenaline fades, they realize they've lost more than they gained. I'll give you an example. A friend once got into a small disagreement with his manager over a project deadline. Instead of calmly explaining his side, he got defensive and raised his voice. He won the argument that day. The manager dropped the request. But weeks later, he noticed he was no longer invited to certain meetings. The trust had been quietly broken. That win cost him opportunities. And if we're honest, we've all been there. I know I have. We've all had moments where we reacted fast only to wish we had stayed calm. The truth is, reacting is easy. Anyone can do it. Not reacting, that's where real strength is. Because it means you're choosing your response instead of letting someone else choose it for you. In the next part, we'll go deeper into the science. What's actually happening inside your brain when you feel triggered, and why understanding. This is the first step to taking your power back. The science of emotional triggers. Let's talk about what's actually happening inside your brain when you feel triggered. We all have a small almond-shaped part of the brain called the amygdala. Think of it as your internal alarm system. Its job is to scan the environment for anything that might be a threat. Thousands of years ago, that meant things like wild animals, dangerous weather, or rival tribes. Today, it still works the same way. Except now, the threats are often words, tone, facial expressions, or even text messages. Here's how it works. The moment your amygdala senses danger, real or imagined, it hits the panic button. Your body floods with adrenaline. Your heart beats faster. Your breathing changes. Your muscles get ready to fight or run. This is called the fight or flight response. The problem? The amygdala reacts faster than your logical brain. It doesn't stop to ask, wait, is this actually dangerous or just annoying? It just assumes you're in trouble. That's why you can go from calm to furious in seconds, even before you've had time to think. It's like having a fire alarm in your house that goes off every time someone makes toast. The alarm doesn't check if it's smoke from a fire or just breakfast. It just screams. And once it's screaming, it's hard to ignore. This is what psychologists call emotional hijacking. Your emotions take control of your body and mind before your rational side can step in. That's why in heated moments, people say things like, I wasn't thinking, or I lost it. They're right. For a few seconds, they actually weren't thinking clearly. The amygdala was in charge. Now here's the good news. Your brain also has a part called the prefrontal cortex. This is the rational, logical part of you, the one that can analyze situations, weigh consequences, and choose the best response. The prefrontal cortex is like a wise advisor, but it works slower than the amygdala. So the key to not reacting is simple. You have to give your prefrontal cortex time to catch up. That's why taking a breath, pausing, or even counting to 3 before you speak can feel so powerful. In those few seconds, you're letting your rational brain take back the driver's seat. Think of it like this. Your amygdala is the emotional accelerator, and your prefrontal cortex is the brake. If you only hit the accelerator, you'll crash. If you give yourself a moment to use the brake, you stay in control. And here's where the real shift happens. When you train yourself to pause, you're not just holding back. You're rewiring your brain. You're teaching your amygdala that not every sharp word, angry tone, or rude message is a threat. Over time, the alarm goes off less often. Not reacting doesn't mean you're weak. It means you've mastered the skill of pausing before the emotional alarm runs your life. It's choosing to respond with intention instead of reacting out of habit. In the next section, we're going to see this power in action. Real-life stories of people who turned silence into strength and how you can apply the same strategies in your own life. Stories of strength in silence. Sometimes, the best way to understand the power of not reacting is to see it in action. So, let me share 3 stories with you, all from different walks of life, but each showing how silence can be stronger than shouting. The leader who changed the room. Michael was the head of a small company. One afternoon, during a heated board meeting, 2 senior managers started arguing over a failed project. Voices were raised, fingers were pointed. And then one of them turned to Michael and said, "This is your fault. You made the wrong call." The room went silent. Everyone expected Michael to fire back. After all, he was the CEO. Being challenged like that in public could crush his authority. But Michael didn't speak. He sat back in his chair, calm. He let the silence stretch for a few seconds. Then he simply said, "Let's take 5 minutes to think before we continue." 5 minutes later, the tension had cooled. When they came back, Michael addressed the issue clearly and without anger. His calmness set the tone. Instead of making it about ego, he made it about solutions. By the end of the meeting, the same manager who challenged him was nodding in agreement. Michael didn't win because he shouted louder. He won because he stayed steady when everyone else was shaking. The partner who saved the relationship. Anna and her boyfriend, Mark, had been together for 3 years. One evening, a small misunderstanding turned into a heated argument. Mark started, raising his voice, throwing out accusations in frustration. Anna felt her own anger rising. Every part of her wanted to shout back. But instead, she took a deep breath and said, "I'm not going to argue like this. Let's talk when we're both calmer." She walked away into the bedroom and closed the door. At first, Mark was even angrier. But 20 minutes later, he knocked softly and said, "Can we talk now?" Without the shouting, they could actually hear each other. They found out it was just a mix-up, nothing worth hurting the relationship over. That night, Anna realized something important. Not reacting didn't mean she was letting him win. It meant she was protecting what mattered most, their connection. The athlete who let his game speak. Marcus was a young basketball player with a lot to prove. In one crucial playoff game, his opponent started trash-talking him right from the first whistle. "You're too slow. You're nothing special. You won't score on me." The crowd was loud. The pressure was high. Marcus could have thrown words back. He could have pushed, argued, or played dirty. But he stayed quiet. He kept his eyes on the ball. He played his game. By the end of the night, Marcus had scored more points than anyone else on the court. His team won. And the same player who trash-talked him, he was the one looking frustrated, not Marcus. When reporters asked Marcus why he didn't respond to the insults, he smiled and said, "I don't have to talk when I can show." These three stories are different, but they all have the same lesson. Silence is not the absence of power. It's the presence of control. When you don't react, you take away the other person's ability to control you. You stay in the driver's seat of your own emotions, and in that calm space, you can choose actions that actually move you forward instead of pulling you into the mud. In the next section, we're going to get practical. I'm going to give you your first step-by-step method for mastering this skill, something you can start using today in your very next conversation. The pause technique. By now, you understand why silence can be so powerful. But how do you actually do it? Because in the heat of the moment, it's not easy. That's where the pause technique comes in. This is your first, most practical tool. It's simple. It works in almost any situation, and you can start using it today. Here's how it works. Step 1. Feel the trigger. The moment you feel that rush, your chest tightening, your voice wanting to rise, your heart beating faster, that's your sign. You've been triggered. The trigger might be a sarcastic comment, an unfair accusation, or even a rude tone. Recognizing that this is a trigger is the first step. Step 2. Take a 3-second pause. This is the heart of the technique. Before you speak, before you move, before you roll your eyes, pause. Count in your head 1, 2, 3. In those 3 seconds, do nothing. Don't type that reply. Don't slam the door. Don't raise your voice. Just hold. Step 3. Breathe. As you count, take one deep, slow breath, in through the nose, out through the mouth. This isn't just about calming down. It's about buying your brain time to switch from the emotional fight-or-flight part to the rational thinking part. Step 4. Become the observer. While you pause and breathe, imagine you're not in the scene but watching it from the outside. Like you're a director looking at actors on a set. Ask yourself, if I were watching this in a movie, what would I want the main character to do? This quick shift in perspective can stop you from making choices you'll regret. Example 1. At work. Your colleague takes credit for your idea in a meeting. Your instinct. Jump in, call them out immediately. But you pause, breathe, and observe. You realize the meeting is tense, and speaking up right now might make you look defensive. So instead, you calmly bring up your contribution later when it's just you, them, and your boss. The result? You still protect your credit without the drama. Example 2. In relationships. Your partner makes a sarcastic remark about something you care about. Normally, you'd snap back. But with the pause technique, you give yourself those 3 seconds. You breathe. You decide to say, "That comment hurt. Can we talk about it? Instead of starting a shouting match, the conversation stays open instead of exploding. Example 3. Online arguments. Someone leaves a rude comment on your post. You start typing an angry reply, but you stop, pause, breathe, and imagine yourself watching from the outside. Would the movie version of "you waste energy here"? Probably not. So you delete the reply and move on with your day. The beauty of the pause technique is that it's small enough to remember and powerful enough to change the outcome of almost any situation. You're not ignoring your feelings. You're giving them space to settle so you can respond from strength, not from impulse. Starting today, I want you to try it at least once, just once, in the next 24 hours. You'll be surprised how much control you actually have when you simply pause. The shift focus technique. Sometimes, even after you pause, the emotional fire is still burning. The trigger is still in your mind, replaying over and over. That's when you need the second tool, the shift focus technique. This is about taking your mind's spotlight off the problem and putting it onto something neutral or productive. Because here's the truth. The more you stare at a trigger, the bigger it feels. But if you look away, even mentally, you take away its power. How it works. Step 1. Notice the loop. You realize you're stuck thinking about what someone said or did. Maybe it's repeating in your head. Maybe you're imagining comebacks. This is your signal. I'm in the loop. Step 2. Pick a new target. Choose one of 3 things to focus on. A goal. Something you're working toward. Finishing. A project, hitting a workout target, planning your next trip. A memory. A happy, peaceful moment that shifts your emotional state instantly. A solution. Not the problem itself, but a step you can take that actually moves things forward. Step 3. Commit for 60 seconds. Fully give your mind to the new focus for just 1 minute. Think about details, visuals, sensations. The point isn't to pretend the trigger didn't happen. It's to keep it from owning your attention. Scenario. During an argument, let's say you're in a tense conversation with a friend. They make a sharp, unfair comment. Normally, you'd jump in with a defensive reply, but instead you pause from the last technique and then shift focus. In your head, you think about a presentation you need to finish tomorrow. You picture yourself delivering it confidently. For a moment, your energy moves away from the sting of their words. When you come back to the conversation, you're calmer. You say, "I hear you're upset, but maybe we can talk about this when we've both cooled down." Your friend looks slightly taken aback because you didn't give them the reaction they expected. You walk away with your dignity, and they're left reflecting on their own tone. Why it works. Your attention is like oxygen for emotions. If you feed the fire by focusing on it, it burns hotter. If you starve it by turning your focus elsewhere, it dies down. This technique lets you keep your cool without suppressing your feelings. You're simply choosing not to give them the driver's seat. The next time you feel pulled into an emotional tug of war, remember, you don't have to grab the rope. You can just turn and look at something else. That's not weakness. That's control. How not reacting builds. Long-term respect. Respect isn't something you demand. It's something you earn, slowly, quietly, over time. And one of the most powerful ways to earn it is by not reacting in the heat of the moment. Think about the people you admire most. Chances are, they aren't the ones who snap at every little thing. They're the ones who stay composed when others lose control. That calm presence makes people trust them. In the workplace. Let's say there's a heated meeting. Everyone's throwing opinions around. A colleague takes a jab at you, maybe even tries to make you look bad. Most people would fire back instantly. But you take a breath. You listen. You choose not to respond immediately. Later, when it's your turn to speak, you address the real issue with facts, not emotion. People notice. They think, wow, they can't be rattled easily. That becomes your reputation, the person who can handle pressure. Over time, this earns you influence. Managers, clients, and teammates begin to trust your judgment because they've seen you. Don't let emotions run your mouth. In personal relationships, arguments with family or friends can be emotional minefields. One wrong word and the damage can last for years. When you choose not to react instantly, you avoid adding fuel to the fire. Imagine your partner is stressed and says something hurtful. Instead of snapping back, you pause. Maybe you say, I think we should talk about this later. That simple act stops the argument from escalating. Later, when emotions cool, the conversation becomes constructive instead of destructive. The more you do this, the more people close to you realize you are safe to talk to, even in conflict. That builds trust, and trust builds respect. In public life, we've all seen public figures lose their temper. It usually doesn't end well. On the other hand, when someone stays calm in the face of criticism, it changes how we see them. Think of a sports coach being interviewed after a tough loss. The reporters ask aggressive questions, trying to stir drama. The coach keeps their voice steady, answers briefly, and doesn't blame anyone. That calmness under pressure sends a powerful message. This person has self-control, and that's a sign of leadership. Why silence and composure? Command attention? Here's the secret. When you're the one who doesn't react right away, you stand out. Most people speak to fill the silence. They rush to defend themselves. But when you hold back, it creates a moment of tension. And in that pause, people lean in. They start to value your words more because you don't waste them. You speak less. But when you do speak, it's measured and meaningful. Over time, that's how you become the person whose opinion carries weight. Respect is a long game. Not reacting once won't make everyone admire you overnight. But over months and years, it builds a pattern. People notice you don't get dragged into drama. You don't lose your head when things go wrong. And that earns something far more valuable than quick applause. It earns lasting respect. So, remember, every time you choose silence over a knee-jerk reaction, you're adding a brick to the foundation of your reputation. And one day, that foundation will be strong enough to support influence, trust, and opportunities you never imagined. When to respond and when to stay silent. By now, you understand the power of not reacting. But here's an important truth. Staying silent forever isn't the goal. Sometimes, speaking up is the right and necessary choice. The key is knowing when. Not reacting is about timing and control. It's the difference between reacting emotionally in the heat of the moment and responding strategically when the time is right. Why you shouldn't always stay silent if someone crosses your boundaries, spreads false information about you, or harms others. Silence might be mistaken for agreement. There are moments when speaking up protects you, your values, and the people you care about. The trick is to respond in a way that's thoughtful, measured, and effective, not just a burst of emotion that you regret later. The 3-question checklist. When you're deciding whether to speak or stay silent, run through this simple mental checklist. Is it worth it now? Ask yourself, if I say something right this second, will it truly help? Often, the immediate urge to speak is about defending our ego, not solving the problem. Is it worth it tomorrow? Picture yourself 24 hours later. Will you still feel the need to address it? If the answer is yes, it's probably a real issue. If not, it's likely just an emotional wave that will pass. Will it matter in a year? This question zooms out to the big picture. If it won't matter a year from now, maybe it's not worth investing your energy into. But if it will, then it deserves your calm, strategic attention. A workplace example. Let's say your boss criticizes you harshly in front of others. Your first instinct is to defend yourself. But if you run through the checklist, you might realize, right now, responding would look defensive. Tomorrow, you'll still want to clarify your side. A year from now, this could affect your professional reputation. So instead of reacting instantly, you stay calm in the moment, then schedule a private meeting. In that meeting, you address the issue clearly and professionally. You didn't avoid it, you just handled it on your terms. A personal life example, imagine a family member makes a sarcastic comment at dinner. You feel the urge to snap back, but you pause. Now? It would start an unnecessary fight. Tomorrow? You probably won't care. In a year? It won't matter at all. You let it go, focus on enjoying the evening, and avoid a blow-up that would have turned a small annoyance into a big rift. The balance of silence and voice silence is a tool. Your voice is a tool. The art is knowing which one to use and when. Sometimes silence protects your peace. Sometimes speaking up protects your future. When you make decisions with intention, not impulse, you show the world that you are not controlled by every little comment or provocation. And that, in itself, is a sign of true strength. Overcoming the urge to prove yourself. One of the biggest reasons we react is because we feel we have to prove ourselves. We want people to know we're right. We want to set the record straight. We want to make sure nobody thinks less of us. But here's the truth. That urge is a trap. The more you chase approval, the more power you give away. You start living in other people's heads instead of your own life. Why we feel the need to prove ourselves. From a young age, we're taught to defend our point, explain our side, and make others see things our way. This works in school debates or presentations, but in real life, it often backfires. On social media, for example, someone might post something false or insulting about you. Your fingers itch to type a reply. You think, if I don't say something, people will believe it. But what usually happens? The argument grows, strangers join in, and suddenly, your peace is gone. The power of letting go. There's a quiet kind of confidence that comes from knowing the truth and not needing everyone else to know it. Look at certain celebrities in interviews. They get asked provocative, personal questions. Instead of snapping back, they smile, pause, and say, "No comment," or simply redirect the conversation. The audience sees that as strength, not weakness. Why? Because they're not desperate to win the room. They're secure enough to let the noise pass. Relatable everyday examples. Maybe at a family gathering, an uncle challenges your career choice. You could spend the next 10 minutes defending your decisions, or you could simply smile and say, "I'm happy with where I'm headed." That's it. No argument. No energy wasted. Or imagine a heated group chat where everyone's debating. Politics. You have a strong opinion, but you also know this conversation will go in circles. You decide not to jump in. You keep your peace while everyone else burns theirs, shifting your mindset. Here's a simple mental shift. Instead of asking, "How can I make them see I'm right?" Ask, "Do I need their approval to keep living my life?" Most of the time, the answer is no, and that no is your ticket to freedom. The big takeaway: not reacting doesn't mean you're weak. It means you value your peace more than winning small battles. The urge to prove yourself will always show up, but you can train yourself to pause, remember what truly matters, and let the rest slide. When you let go of needing everyone's agreement, you don't just save energy, you take back control over your own life. And that's the kind of control nobody else can take from you. Daily practices to train your calm muscle. Calm isn't something you're born with. It's a skill. And like any skill, it gets stronger the more you train it. Think of it as building a calm muscle. The stronger it gets, the easier it is to stay composed, even in life's toughest moments. Mindfulness minutes. Every day, set aside just 5 minutes to sit in silence and focus on your breath. Inhale slowly through your nose. Exhale gently through your mouth. Notice your thoughts, but don't follow them. This small practice teaches your brain to pause instead of jumping to react. If 5 minutes feels long, start with 2. The goal isn't perfection. It's building awareness of your mental state before emotions take over. Journaling, your triggers keep. A small notebook or phone note where you write down moments you felt triggered. Who was involved? What did they say? How did you feel in your body? Did your heart race? Did your face heat up? When you reflect later, you'll start spotting patterns. Maybe certain topics always set you off. Maybe it's when you're tired or hungry. Awareness is the first step to control. Practice in low stakes situations. Don't wait for a high-pressure argument to test your calm. Practice in small moments. When someone cuts you off in traffic, stay silent. When your coffee order is wrong, smile and ask for a fix without frustration. When a friend teases you, laugh it off instead of defending yourself. These mini reps train your mind to pause automatically, so when the big moments come, you're ready. The evening reset before bed. Take 2 minutes to replay the day. Ask yourself, when did I stay calm? When did I react too quickly? What could I do differently next time? This isn't about beating yourself up. It's about learning from each day so you get a little stronger tomorrow. Visualize your calm self in the morning. Imagine a situation that might trigger you, maybe a tense meeting or a tough conversation. Then picture yourself handling it with complete calm, slow breathing, steady voice, confident body language. Your brain doesn't fully distinguish between real and imagined practice, so this mental rehearsal makes calm more likely when the real moment comes. The payoff, the more you practice, the faster calm becomes your default. You'll notice you're less tired at the end of the day. Your relationships feel smoother, and people respond to you with more respect. Remember, calm is not about ignoring problems. It's about approaching them with the strength to think clearly, choose your battles, and protect your energy. Start with one practice today. Over time, you'll not only master the art of not reacting, you'll live it every single day. Closing. The quiet victory, remember the story we began with? The person standing in a crowded room, provoked, insulted, all eyes waiting for them to explode, but instead, they stayed silent. In that moment, maybe it didn't seem like much. No dramatic comeback, no mic drop, just a calm, steady presence. But here's the thing about silence. Its power often reveals itself over time. Days later, people remembered the confrontation, but they didn't talk about the insults. They talked about how composed that person stayed. They noticed the self-control, the dignity. The one who shouted looked small. The one who stayed silent looked unshakable. That's the quiet victory. It's not about winning in the traditional sense. It's not about proving you're smarter, tougher, or louder. It's about walking away with your peace intact, while others lose theirs. It's about knowing you could have said something, but you didn't need to. That restraint speaks louder than any clever retort. Think about your own life. Maybe there's a colleague who thrives on pushing your buttons, or a family member who knows exactly which words sting, or someone online who hides behind a keyboard, throwing jabs. You could spend your time and energy reacting to them, or you could keep your energy, your dignity, and your focus on what really matters. Staying calm isn't weakness. It's strength under control. And that's the kind of strength people remember, respect, and even admire from a distance. The next time you feel the urge to snap back, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, will this matter in a year? Is this worth my energy? What outcome do I actually want here? Most of the time, you'll realize the best move is no move at all. And when you start living that way, choosing your words, choosing your battles, and sometimes choosing silence, you'll notice something powerful. Life gets lighter. The noise around you doesn't pull you in as much. You stop wasting energy on things that don't matter. And the people who matter most, they'll respect you more for it. Because here's the truth. The loudest voice in the room isn't always the strongest. Sometimes it's the one that never needed to speak. So in your next challenge, try the quiet victory. Not to win over someone else, but to win over yourself. That's the kind of victory that lasts.